Oh, there's the button click.
We can.
There it is. We're going. I know the drill now.
Getting real conditioned to that, huh?
Yeah, I know. It's like The Office, right? Where like Jim conditions Dwight to reach out for an Altoid by like doing something, and then is like, you know, it makes him have like a foul tasting mouth because like he doesn't get an Altoid, you know, but he like Jim does something and then Dwight's conditioned to just put out his hand for the Altoid. Jim's like, what the hell are you doing?
You know? Yeah.
Yeah,
there's some good Jim pranks.
Yeah. Anyways, we're here. We're back.
We're doing
things. Another episode.
That's right. Another fantastic episode of the Post Credits Podcast.
Yeah.
How we doing, sir?
I'm good as usual. Just got back from Days of the Dead Indianapolis, which went pretty smooth. I had some hangups with the load-in people, but I guess what can you do? Not everything's going to be perfect, but it's always the load-in people. It must be we just are oil and water, you know? We just don't, me and load-in people, we just don't mesh well. So I've had problems with other load-in people at numerous other shows this year. So maybe it's a Matt problem.
It's possible.
So yeah, that was fun though. I met Derek Mears. Told you about that before we started recording. Yep. He was really nice. So, but yeah, it was good. So yeah, happy about it. How are you doing? I'm
great. Yeah, just you know, keeping busy and working on projects, and now we're doing another podcast. So
yes,
yeah. So what made you pick this movie?
Well, it's a couple reasons actually. There's a couple YouTube channels that I follow that they do kind of like long form video essays on movies, and both of them they both released videos on Jennifer's Body about a year ago, and I had never seen it, but how they were talking about the movie was like that it was misunderstood. And I was like, okay, interesting, because my perception is that it was kind of incompetent movie is my perception of it. But what they had to say of it was interesting and thought out, and I'm like, is there something more here? So I ended up just buying it, you know.
This was a year ago.
Yeah, because I'm like, well, there's got to be at least something in there that I would like if they're talking about it like this. This is not like, oh, I love this movie. It's like, no, they're like deep dive into like, you know, what this means, what it's commenting about society, how it's like ahead of its time. I'm like, okay, they were right, you know? And so I kind of wanted to talk about it in two ways. Like one, the perception leading up to it, and then like what the movie is. One, I like this movie. Did you like it? Because I don't think you had seen this before.
I saw it about a year ago because I bought it as well because you had recommended it, and you're like, oh, it's on HBO Max or one of those things, and I remember that movie, but not like ever wanting to track it down.
Right, me neither.
And I think I was just a little belligerent the one night, and it was on HBO Max and it wasn't there, and it's like, why is this not on here? And so I wound up just buying it as well, and then and then watching it, and I liked it back then. I remember thinking it was a lot better than I had been led to believe also. And I didn't watch these long form YouTube videos. I was just going off of you saying that, hey, you know, you should check out Jennifer's Body. Like, yeah, I remember that movie. And I actually watched it this weekend with some friends who had never seen it also. And both of them were like, yeah, it wasn't bad. It was pretty good. So.
Yeah. No, like I've seen it a few times now, and it grows on me a little bit more each time that I see it, because I think it takes a little bit to warm up to this movie. not because of the perception, because it's is a horror movie, but it's not scary, right? It's kind of a comedy, but it's not like front to back hilarious, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like these little things where it's like, well, where does it fall into? And it's kind of hard to label it a specific genre, right? Like, because you could say Ghostbusters is a horror movie, but it's much more of a comedy, you know?
Well, and horror comedy is its own genre,
Yeah, but
and
it's
I
not really either one of those, you know?
well, I feel like that's a big part of why nobody turned out to go see it back in the day.
It's
Um,
bigger than that. It's not just that they couldn't define the movie. Well,
oh
I'll
yeah,
talk
no,
about that. It's pretty wild.
okay.
So
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a couple things that jump out to me, and I did rewatch the trailer just to have that experience again, and it's like that was 2 minutes, and you just told me nothing.
absolutely nothing. I rewatched the trailer too, and it's like, hey, here's Megan Fox. Watch this movie because it's Megan Fox, right? Or like,
and
hey,
and
Megan
she's
Fox is a supernatural being, and she wants Amanda Seyfried's boyfriend. That's like what I got from the
yeah,
trailer. It's like that trailer sucks. Like it is.
it's
It tells you nothing. It's uninteresting. You don't get excited to know what this movie is about.
yeah, you didn't have the funnier lines.
No.
You had it trying to make it look like, oh, Megan Fox is being crazy with burning her tongue. I didn't even really
Yeah.
get a ton of the supernatural vibe other than like, yeah, she was biting people, but like what kind of monster
Yeah.
is this supposed to be? Like
Right.
is it?
Right.
And I remember thinking like, oh, this is like some kind of vampire thing. It's kind of because it's a succubus, which is a
Right.
female demon.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, it just did a really poor job of telling you what the movie was, and I feel like that was strike number one of setting it up to fail, because it
Right.
was here's Megan Fox. All you teenage boys are gonna love this, and
Exactly.
it was so like you're gonna watch this just because of this what we're showing you, and I feel like I don't know if other people do this, but whenever I can sense that I'm being pandered to, I always kind of like clam up, like
Yeah.
what's your angle, like
Yeah. You're trying to figure out what the grift is. Like what are they tricking me about? You know. At least that's for me.
well,
Like I
yeah,
want to know that.
there's that, there's the they must think very little of me if this is what they think they
Right.
can just slide past. So now I'll make that my first point. I've got like maybe one other. I'm sure you've got the
Okay.
the goods on this one.
Well, well, yeah. I mean, I rewatched those videos and like kind of like went into the background of like leading up to the release of this movie and like what the screenwriter Diablo Cody as well as the director Kieran Kusama went through, as well as Megan Fox. And it's like such a shame because like there was an interview done a couple of years ago because of the 10-year anniversary, and so Megan Fox and Diablo Cody. Now, if Diablo Cody doesn't ring a bell to anybody, that's the screenwriter for Juno. So
Mm-hmm.
this is like she won an Academy Award for that script, and then this is her follow up. Now they did like a long interview of them just talking about their experience, and it's kind of sad because both of them were the backlash was so strong against these two people that like Megan Fox had insecurity issues because of how this movie was talked about, and then Diablo Cody didn't want to have anything to do with Hollywood anymore for a long time, and then also like had to go see a therapist because of what she went through just for making this movie. And it's really interesting, and it also kind of shines a light on like how or what the movie industry thought of women, right? Because we talked about the trailer being like this look how hot these females are, right?
Mm-hmm.
When it's like the reality of it is that this is a female-led movie from top to bottom that was made for young women, right? And to market it as, or to market the movie the way that they did towards young men, killed this movie before there was liftoff, right? Because they're marketing something that doesn't exist. I saw these trailers and I was just uninterested. I think if I would have seen the trailer that represented what was in the movie, I don't know if it would have been for me, but I still would have had interest in seeing it. Does that make sense? You know?
Yeah, kind of. Just to go back to the Diablo Cody situation, which is unfortunate that she was treated that way. I remember a lot of the reviews just being absolutely savage and bringing up the, you know, almost like how dare this Oscar winner
make this trash,
this absolute trashy movie.
Unbelievable.
And that, that's ridiculously unfair and kind of I don't even know what the right word is. I'm sure it'll come to me at like 3 a.m, but just this idea that like she owes you something better just because of what your expectation of like, well, she
what an
made
Oscar
Juno
winner
this
should do. Yeah.
Yeah, which by a lot of people's standards was also kind of overrated. But it really hit with a lot of people, and I don't think they were prepared for a movie like this, that was more less of like teenage drama and more horror. But there's still a lot of teenage drama in here because it's about this, just kind of the complex relationships that friends can have.
Yes, that's exactly what this movie is about. Like it's about like this kind of not even give and take, but it's like almost manipulation between two friends when things can kind of go sideways, like going back, and I want to touch up on those themes when we start talking about the movie, but to paint an even broader picture, Diablo Cody reached out to a Fox Atomic that was a subsidiary of Fox that were releasing kind of like Dimension. At the time, it was releasing more of these types of movies. And she reached out to them, this person. She didn't name them. I don't know who it is, but she reached out to ask how they were going to market this movie. And his response back was Megan Fox hot. Like, so that's like the level like that these women were dealing with from Fox regarding like how this movie was going to get out to the public. So it's just it just seemed like it was doomed for no one's part but just Fox being assholes, and not understanding like what they have.
And let's go back to 2009 is when this came out.
2009. So we're talking about like right after Transformers as well.
The entire expectation of Megan Fox in a movie was that she was going to be hot and had nothing else to offer because the Transformers movies didn't really give her, a whole lot to do. And yeah, I mean, they really objectified her in the way that movie was shot. So on the one hand, you can see how a marketing person would think, oh, that's how I deal with the celebrity. On the other hand, it's not giving the audience any credit at all, let alone the actor any credit, or the substance of the story any credit, because you're really boiling it down to, kind of the qualities that nobody really wants to see.
Right.
So yeah, I think that was another reason why I didn't want to see it back in the day. Was it's like I don't just need to see a movie to oogle Megan Fox. So yeah, this isn't for me.
But I also realized like because the reason why I didn't want to see it is because I was like, oh, it's another Megan Fox movie, and I was just kind of like, I was like, I felt like well, looking back on it, I feel like I was led on to believe that like Megan Fox was a talentless hack, right? And that she was just eye candy. And I realize now how much of that is just manufactured.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't, on a personal level, I don't think she's an outstanding actress, but I don't think she's untalented, you know? So I don't know. It's just interesting to look back at it being a movie that's relatively close, you know, just over 10 years at this point, and how much of it, the backlash was just people not understanding the movie and combined with like horrible marketing. And then, you know, we get this
Horrible
thing.
marketing, bad public perception.
Yeah.
I
Even
mean, really.
their tests. Yeah. Well, like, I mean, Diablo Cody said, I wanted it to be a female focus about female friendship and specifically about a girl who eats boys, right? That's what she wanted to make a movie about. And then you know what Fox does for test screening? They take it in front of like late teen and early 20s men. Not for them. It's not for them. Like, I'm not saying that this movie can't be liked by men. I'm just saying like like the focus should have been towards women. Like we like Clueless, Mean Girls. Those are all team dramas, but they're successful, but also geared towards women of a younger age. Like there's so many men I have come in or have had conversations about or conversations with that have said Clueless is such a good movie, you know? And it's like, well, yeah, I can understand that. It's not my cup of tea, so to speak, but it's still, by most standards, a really good movie, you know? So it's weird that this movie, the reason why I want to talk about it, it's weird that this movie in particular, they're like, fuck this movie in particular. We don't give a shit about it, you know? And it's like, well, why? You know? And it's like, because Megan Fox is beautiful, but she was portrayed in like a sexually exploited help me out with the fucking word.
Exploitive.
Yeah, way in Transformers, you know, and then it's just weird. It's weird.
Well, yeah.
Let's get into the movie.
And well, and even here, you know, horror has always had a very exploitative quality to it, and I think the idea that the horror audience wouldn't understand that there's a feminist slant to this movie is also not giving them any credit whatsoever, because there's very strong feminist themes in horror. I mean, like the fact that you
final
have
girl, you know,
that's probably the ultimate example of that. You know, the girl is usually the one that survives who's the last one standing that survives to the end. And there was kind of a revenge subgenre, you know, like I Spit on Your Grave, which this kind of could have fallen into that. I think the Carrie comparisons are kind of I mean, you can't have a supernatural horror movie. You can't have a horror movie at a high school dance and not think about Carrie, let alone a supernatural one.
Right.
You know, but again, I mean, these are feminist ideas, so that they feel like people wouldn't understand that, and you know, you don't have to be like a female to watch a feminist movie to appreciate it. So
exactly, I agree. Thank God we're on the same page with this. Also, just a heads up, if you haven't seen this movie, we have not spoiled anything yet. If you want to see this movie, you might want to pause it because we're going to start talking about it now. I mean, I just wanted to throw it out there right now because I feel like this movie is so underappreciated that chances are that maybe some of our listeners haven't seen it. It's on Amazon Prime right now, but maybe when this gets released, it won't be, because that's my track record for whenever I say something is on Amazon Prime, it immediately gets taken down.
That's probably what happened when I went to watch it on HBO Max, is they intercepted your text message and not for Brian. We're not watching.
Yeah. So, which version did you watch? The theatrical or the unrated?
I have the unrated one, and I honestly
that's what I watched.
Really know what is different or could be much different, because
you know, Neither do I,
I
and I've
didn't feel
watched
like
both
it was that
versions.
bad.
No.
I know they claimed another one of the things that supposedly killed the movie was that it was rated R,
Oh my God.
and
So is American Pie, but
I just don't fully understand why that's always such a bad thing. Other than they want those teenage crowds to go see it, and I don't know, man. You know, like we said, they kind of marketed it to the wrong teenage crowd who wasn't going to go see it in the first place. So then to blame the R rating for tanking it even further is kind of just like,
yeah, it's not us that did anything wrong. It's the rating system that screwed us up. Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
right.
All right, Fox. Yeah, I see what you're trying to do there. It's just not working anymore. You know?
What was the budget for this? Did you know?
I
'Cause
don't know.
I
I
think it
should have
only
looked
made
that
like
up.
$31 million or something like that. I know it was
Yeah,
really considered a disappointment at the
a
time.
flop, like a real flop, not like today's flop where it's like, yeah, it made $300 million over budget, but you know, it's just
Yeah.
to us that's a flop. You
Yeah.
know, Alien Covenant. So yeah, that was a flop by Fox, by the way.
It underperformed.
Oh my God,
That's what they like to say.
Give me a, yeah, I mean, underperformed, I would say, is like where you made a profit, but it's still in the hundreds of thousands. When you get to hundreds of millions, it didn't underperform. I want that on record. Your movie didn't underperform. You made the budget of a Marvel movie. All right. Let's all calm down a little bit.
Duly noted.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I think this movie is pretty damn good. I like how it starts off. I like the misdirection, the kind of complicated friendship that Needy and Jennifer have throughout this movie, and then how that kind of plays on each other. I mean, I like how all these things are kind of interwoven. Because right off the rip, you're made to think that Amanda's character is the evildoer when she's not, you know? Because she was like looking through the window at Jennifer's sleeping body with like a hood on. You're just like, that's not creepy at all.
Yeah,
that's not creepy.
They kind of, well, I guess it's not out of order yet, but they do kind of tell the movie a little bit out of order. So basically, what the TV guide summary of this is you have these two high school friends that go to see a concert that they're fans of at this local bar. The place winds up burning down, and in the fire they wind up kidnapping Jennifer, taking her into the woods to sacrifice her to the forces of evil so that they can have fame and fortune. And it works in the sense that they have fame and fortune, but she also comes back as a monster and wreaks havoc.
They had all the fame and fortune of playing at a high school prom. They really got there.
Well, no, because in the ending credits, they were
doing drugs and everything in the hotel, and
they were in a hotel, getting out of limos and signing
cleavage,
ladies' busts with Sharpie markers.
I will say that with everything that they went through, I wish that ending was not just like quick cuts. I wish it was like a 2-minute segment of her just getting into that place, getting into that hotel room, and laying waste to all this band, this Dashboard Confessional fake band, you know.
I think Dashboard Confessional had a song on this soundtrack.
It wouldn't surprise me.
That was something else that popped up at the end of the trailer that I watched.
Yeah.
And
the soundtrack.
I think it was like, you know, Panic at the Disco, Florence and the Machine, Cobra Starship.
Oh, they made an appearance. I had missed that. Maybe I just was like, my brain is like, don't look at that.
Yeah.
Cobra fucking Starship.
I didn't mind that because it kind of kept me guessing a little bit in the sense of, you know, I thought I knew what was going to happen, but since they had told the movie a little bit out of order, I didn't know who, you know, was responsible for killing him, you know, like if Jennifer tracked him down and did that, but it was not. We'll touch on that aspect a little bit, But stylistically, the reason I liked it was because it kind of reminded me of the Fiona Apple video for Criminal, where it was like a bunch of still photographs, and
Oh
they
yeah.
kind of made it look like the party that you found the disposable camera roll for and developed it, and everyone, like, you got the flash going off and it's dark in the background and everyone's got the red eyes. So
Oh my God.
I don't know if that was their influence, but that's just what it reminded me of.
You know, I came across not too long ago, a few weeks ago, I came across a shoebox full of disposable cameras that were used, and I just never developed them. I think I'm gonna get them developed because this is like in the prime time of shenanigans, right? Like there's got to be some wild stuff on there, where it's just like, what the hell was I thinking?
Yeah, or a lot of photos that don't turn out because those things were garbage.
Oh yeah, horrible,
Uh-huh.
horrible. But what could you do? You wanted to document the night, and you had $5 in your pocket. I'll just buy one of these shitty disposable things. The crank, you gotta click the stupid thing, and then flat. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I still see them once in a while at like the dollar store.
Really?
If I go, yeah, I'll go in there to get like cleaning supplies. That's my life hack. I get my cleaning supplies from the dollar store because it's cheaper,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they'll have them in there. And I'm like, wow, man, I used to pay like $4 to $6 in like 1995 money for these. Now you can just get them for $1.
Yeah. Best used before 2001. It's probably
Yeah.
what those
Yeah.
things
They
say
don't
on them.
even work anymore. Can you, maybe, can you still get shit developed? Could I like go to Meijer or Walgreens and get photos developed? Is that
You
still a thing?
you would have to look that up. All the photo centers. I mean, I've gotten some photos printed off at like CVS, but everything's digital as far as that
Yeah.
goes.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, yeah, where would I even get it developed
To
at this
answer your
point?
question, I don't know.
Yeah, well, there's Google for that. I'll figure it out later. So,
But yeah, back to the movie. They do tell it out of order a little bit because Jennifer just kind of disappears, and
yeah,
the movie's really Amanda Seyfried's character Anita, or they
yeah,
call her Needy, which is because just of the frankly abusive relationship that her and Megan Fox's character have.
yeah.
But
Like, hey, be my chaperone while I go get drunk and try to have sex with this band. You know,
mhm.
It's kind of her attitude at the beginning. And it doesn't get any better because then she becomes really evil.
Yeah,
So
and not high school evil, like
like demon evil.
well, that was like a line from the movie. Like, I think it's even
Oh,
on the poster. Like, she's evil,
oh my God. Yeah. Going back to
and not
marketing,
not
they have
just high
her.
school evil, like really evil.
Yeah. I just want to point out the marketing was so bad because it's like in all of the posters, well, I should say all of them, but most of them, or at least the ones that were used at the time, like she's in like this really short skirt, like kind of on like a teacher's desk, or like she's evil, all that stuff, whatever. But it's like she never dresses like that. I don't think she dresses provocatively at all in this movie. And it's like, well, that's just marketing, bad marketing 101,
Yeah.
again. So just crazy. But yeah, the scene when she gets murdered, when they revisit it, that was like really hard to watch this time around. I'm wondering if they like did something in the editing, because I don't remember it being like, it's almost, to me it's almost like borderline like RoboCop. I'm not saying to that level, but like when Murphy gets killed, it's not an easy scene to watch,
Hmm.
right? And that's kind of the same feeling that I had with this one, where I'm like, man, like this is
Yeah,
awful,
yeah. Well, it's not just that you have someone being stabbed through the heart, sacrificed in the woods.
Yeah,
Because I think a lot of horror movies kind of get around that because they don't focus on the horror of being killed. Like, there isn't a lot of the person pleading for their life like you have here.
right.
And I mean, she tries to reason with him, and that doesn't
Yeah,
work. And I don't know if that was in the theatrical cut or what, but it's not as devastating, and like I cannot bring myself to watch the rest of this as like Last House on the Left was.
Oh
Because
boy.
that's just fucking terrible and hard to watch. And that really made me turn on that movie because, I mean, it was even kind of a similar thing where, you know, two girls going to a concert get kidnapped and then, but the difference is that they're just depraved and, you know, killing them and whatnot in the woods. And just everything about that was awful. The way it was so drug out. That's a hard movie to watch. And even when the parents get revenge, I'm just like,
Yeah, it's almost like at that point, like you're desensitized to it. Like you should be rooting for the family for getting revenge, but it's like so hard to watch that you're just like, I don't want to watch the revenge part anymore. Like I just kind of want to be done with it. And it's so bad, Brian, that I haven't watched that movie since I bought it on my birthday that one year you were with me. You remember that? It was like a stack of, you came up
I
to
do.
celebrate my
I
birthday.
do.
And I
I think
bought
I
a
bought it the
stack of
same
movies.
night.
Yeah, I bought it the same. I guess we bought it together. I have now. That was like 14 or 15 years ago. I can't do it. You know, it's
Yeah.
it's too unsettling. You know.
Yeah, I might have watched it once since then. I think I just threw out the DVD or sold it or something. It's
They
like
got rid of the DVD.
I'm never gonna watch this again. Like I'm
Yeah,
sorry, Wes Craven, but so back to the scene here. Yeah, I mean you have a little bit of that, and I think it focuses on, you know, the horror of that situation, and that's why it's unsettling to watch.
yeah, and they're like toying with her too. They start singing that song,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and then stab her. And like the thing is like usually when you get to the knife going up in the air is when you get the cut, you know, and then we're on to the next scene. But there's like a couple stabs in there, and the scene continues to go on. You're just like, all right, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready to be done with this. This is too much. But then, like, you know, the juxtaposition is immediately like you're seeing Jennifer finish up her story, you know, about like what happened to her that night. So you do get like a little bit of relief from that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's still hard to watch, you know.
Well, yeah, and at that point they've kind of set her up as the monster because
yeah,
she just kind of disappears and then later reappears that night to Anita, and then because the movie's from her perspective, they sort of slow walk you into that, which I think was a good idea.
yeah, I agree. Um, did you think like any part of this movie was funny, or like at the time? Because I think some of the shit's like thinking about certain lines back in my head, they're pretty funny. You
Mm-hmm.
know, like when um Megan Fox, Jennifer, she says like, well, Jesus invented the calendar, you know, because he died, and that's how, because you know we're in whatever year, you know.
Yeah,
2000.
some of it
Funny.
works, some of it doesn't. You know, like when towards the end of the movie when they, she's got the box cutter and she goes to stab her, and like you get all your murder weapons from Home Depot. God, you're so butch. Like, all right, I mean, certain things are like a little too try hardy.
Yeah,
And some of it's works, and it flow. It has a better flow than that. So, to me that's the thing that makes it feel a little bit uneven, is that it doesn't always play. But
yeah,
then
that's
again, not all those lines are created equal.
well, right, and also like we're seeing this movie like 15 years, no, 14 years removed from when it came out. We're both older, and sometimes I've noticed that when as I get older, the crude humor is grating, where I probably would have thought it was funny however many years ago, you know, maybe even not that long ago. So but you know, like right, we're in their bar, when they're in the bar before Low Shoulder starts playing.
Mm-hmm.
the back and forth between Amanda and Megan, almost borderline super bad with how Michael, Sarah, and whatever his face is were talking back and forth. Like, it's pretty crude, pretty I don't know how else to describe it, but just crude dialogue back and forth. I'm like, that's pretty crazy to talk like that, but then it's just, it's a movie. But I don't remember anyone talking like that when I was growing up.
I feel like people did, and it was like super bad because the parents weren't around, and you could just say whatever you wanted with no consequences. So it was just profanity laden Shakespearean tirades of discovering the F word for the first time or whatever.
Well, I'm more talking about how, like, Megan, not just swearing, but Megan Fox telling, like, she's not even a backdoor virgin, and it's like, oh, okay, so they're high school.
Yeah,
it's like, maybe, I guess so.
Definitely was not party to those kind of conversations.
Well, that's what I mean,
But maybe girls talk that way at a certain level. I don't know.
Yeah,
I do feel like that some of that is kind of lost on me, just not having that experience. And you only have you only grow up the way that you grow up. So it's whether your town was that small or your friends were that crude, not all of it's going to land the same.
Oh, of course not. Well, what other part? I mean, we can talk about how much I like this movie, but what were the parts that you liked? What did you enjoy about it?
Yeah, even though it was kind of abusive, I liked the friendship. I liked the they did have a back and forth, like even when she was evil. That I'm a little fuzzy on the rules though, because
okay,
she was killed, and she doesn't even remember what happened other than she remembers waking up. Because they throw the knife in the whirlpool, which I believe was a visual effect because that's not a natural whirlpool.
Right.
I don't know if that's supposed to be like the gateway to hell or whatever, but I guess I'm a little fuzzy about why that happened. And then later on, supernatural things start to happen to Needy, and it's like, well, is it because she got bit or like?
Well, okay, so I wasn't quite sure like how, like what you're talking about, like she doesn't know what she is other than she survived what would have been a mortally or a mortal wound. She got stabbed in the chest multiple times that should have killed her, so why is she still alive? But like, she does realize that, like, if she kills people or eats them, like, she has like a Wolverine-esque healing factor, right? So it's like the whole thing is just like, I need to eat so I can keep healing.
Mm-hmm.
But what doesn't explain is like, well, what happens if you just stop eating? Do you die?
Just waste
is
away.
Like is like the eating the thing that like fuels the healing process. And then like, but what's the end goal? Just to eat stuff, eat men, but then there's two things that, like, I think it's like more than just being possessed by a demon, right? Because there's the part where Jennifer gets to Needy's home after the assault, and then she throws up that black ooze, but then it's like moving, right? Like it's moving all around, and you're like, well, is that like if you touch it, are you going to become infected and become like a man eater?
Mm-hmm.
So it makes me think, well, one, it could be possibly passed on, but then at the end, Needy's character said, like, because like she's in an asylum, but she's strong, so she said that if you're bitten by a demon and survive it, some of those strengths that the demon had get passed along. So it makes me think like it can be transmitted or
Okay.
put onto somebody else.
Yeah.
So
she definitely got bit. a couple times in the fight scene at the end.
Yeah, yeah. So, but that was her, like, because she's powerful, and when she meets up with Bishop there right at the end, like they're going to kill Little Shoulder, you know, or she is. He's just a driver in a car, you know, he doesn't know any better.
Yeah. Her life is still over, though. I mean, because she basically gets blamed for murdering Jennifer, even though she stopped a monster, and then put in Juvie Hall, and basically just breaks out and walks out of there. So
yeah, just walks right through a chain link fence, and then just casually looks into the hotel camera after a murder spree, you know, just to make sure that's like, hey, I killed them and this other girl, you know, so she ain't going anywhere. She'll probably just be on the run for the rest of her life. That I thought was kind of lame. Like, I'd rather just see her after this moment like disappear and not have her like show up in that camera, you know.
Yeah,
that's just me. Like, just have her walk away, like have her walking down the road, I think would have been better, you know, like, because then it's like, oh well, she's going to figure something out for her life, you know. I think that's a little bit better than the assumption that she's going to get caught because she left video evidence of a crime, you know. That sort of thing I think is a little bit better, but that's kind of nitpicky. But I wish that was different.
Yeah, I mean, they'd have to be some world-class detectives to figure out that was her motive. Just from that
that's
piece of security footage, because you show everyone running down the hall and she's just walking through the hotel there.
Yeah, but she already killed somebody, you know. So I'm like, well, like, she was in an asylum because she killed Jennifer, and no one knows that Jennifer had a demon in her, you know. So it's like she's already on record as to killing somebody, and then she's walking away from a crime scene. You know, it's like, well, let's go find her. You know.
Yeah,
so
maybe. I don't know.
I think that's
the ending is kind of messy in the way that it doesn't really resolve a whole lot, other than the fact that the band they had it coming to them, and she delivered it.
Yeah. Oh, they had it coming. I wonder how many times they've done that, you know, or this was like they just figured out how to do that, or it's like they've got to do that at every show to have a good show. They just got to kill somebody.
Oh man,
you know, how about that life?
Well, that'd be about as bad as the characters in The Babysitter there, right? With the fact that they because we were talking about that in that movie, because that was also another satanic sacrifice situation. And they wouldn't get away with it for very long before the town realizes that, you know, what the modus operandi of the serial killer is.
Right.
And I feel like that they probably would have figured out that Jennifer was the killer. You know, I mean, if we're really like unraveling, we're pulling at those strings here, right? Because she makes no attempt to be clean or to hide the crime, and she just shows up slathered in blood. So there's got to be DNA evidence.
You mean down the whole road she walked down from the crime scene of
you know,
the murdering?
Down the road, down for her murder, or the murder of any of these football player boys that she kills. I think one of those guys was in the Elm Street remake.
Yes, I believe so too. And then we also see Chris Pratt in this movie as well.
Yeah, he shows up
right in the beginning, the almost cop, you know.
Yeah, J.K. Simmons shows up.
He is funny. Like, I don't know, like, it's just amazing to me because I just watched Whiplash, right? I don't care for it. I don't care for that movie at all. But, you know, he's like opposite Miles Teller, right? As the psychotic drum teacher or orchestra or whatever, jazz teacher. And it's just crazy to me that it's like he's that and a one-armed guy that blows into a microphone to test it, you know? So
Whiplash, is that a movie or TV show or
something? Oh my God. Well, it's this I shouldn't say much talked about it because that seems condescending because you don't know what it is. But it's this drama movie J.K. Simmons plays this jazz instructor at this prestigious, almost like Carnegie Mellon type of university, right? And he Miles Teller plays the new drummer for this jazz band that is part of getting your music major. And he puts Miles Teller through absolute hell trying, like, almost think of like Bobby Knight, the basketball coach, but that's J.K. Simmons teaching some kid how to be a drummer, you know? So it's kind of awful. And nothing good either. Like, it's a well-crafted movie and I can get why people like it, but I don't know what the lesson is other than there are psychos out there that will try to teach you things and you should stay away from those psychos, you know?
Okay.
So
all right, fair enough.
That's like a really like boiled down version of that movie that some people might give me flack for, but at the same time it's like I didn't enjoy it. So that's my perspective.
Okay. Well, that's fine. We don't have to dwell on it. We're not here to talk about Whiplash. It was surprising though to see just like how many people popped up in this movie. I mean, from Chris Pratt, J.K. Simmons. I want to say, isn't the wife from Everyone Loves Raymond in it? Doesn't she play Needy's mom?
It might be, because I was trying to place her, you know? I was like, yeah, who is that? Because she looked really familiar. So maybe that is her. You're talking about the one that has like the speech at the funeral about her son being lasagna and teeth. Sorry. That caught me off guard because just repeating it sounds funny, you know?
Yeah. And then Jason Reitman was one of the producers on it.
Yeah. Because his connection to Juno, you know?
Oh, he was a producer on that as well?
He directed it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, well, Jason Reitman did.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I had a brain fart and I thought you said Ivan. So, he directed that. So,
okay.
Juno.
Yeah. No, he had a real good run there with, like that movie. Yeah, Juno, and Thank You for Smoking, and some awards darlings.
Yes, I haven't seen either of them. Actually, I think Ghostbusters Afterlife. Yeah. Is that a good one? Worth it?
Yeah. It's all right.
Okay.
It's enjoyable.
I like how I feel about Whiplash. Whiplash wasn't enjoyable.
Well, it's sort of like Liar Liar, right? Where you had in that movie you had a lawyer kind of learning what a shit he was and then trying to turn it around, whereas I think that one was with
Aaron Eckhart.
Yeah, Aaron Eckhart is one of these tobacco company spinsters and kind of realizing what the damage that there is just going out and lying about shit for
right,
for money, but anyway.
So I think most of these characters though, like how they act is like, it doesn't seem like irrational or anything, or it's like you kind of like these characters for the most part. So it's pretty sad when Chip got killed.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, this guy, the boy, and Chip is the boyfriend to Needy, but like he's just a dude. Like he's like harmless. Like he's not portrayed in any bad way. He's not like got this like toxic masculinity side to him. He just cares about his girlfriend, wants the best for his girlfriend, and then gets his neck tore out, basically. He gets bitten, but dies from that. Just like, oh my God, it's such a bummer. I thought he was going to pull through. Like you'd see him in like an ambulance, back of an ambulance, give him like the thumbs up by the end of the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I did it.
That old chestnut.
Yeah. We're here.
He's
still
okay.
Here. Yeah. We don't know how. He lost almost all of his blood, but,
Giving the Evel Knievel thumbs up there.
Right.
Yeah. I like the lighting in that scene in the pool. I really like the color palette for that.
And it was creepy too, because of the painting in the background. Really gave like an odd perspective. There was like a painting of a bridge or something in the background next to the pool, but that perspective was weird. So it kind of like threw everything off. And I liked it because it made that scene more uneasy. if it didn't need to be already, where it's like this mucky pool in God knows where. I don't know what part of the school this pool is in, but it's all graffitied and it's green and nasty. It's almost, you can almost smell the algae, right? You're almost there.
Yeah.
But the perspective of this painting looks so odd in the background. It's just kind of that extra thing that I like that when there's like, when you want to, when I don't know if they wanted the scene to have that painting in it, but when there's something like that where it just adds to the atmosphere, I always enjoy that, seeing that stuff kind of come together.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a review that I came across that they were actually picking on the set design, saying that it was as thin and vapid. I'm paraphrasing.
I saw this review.
Definitely as thin and like empty as Megan Fox. It's like, God,
yeah.
like, really?
Yeah, like I didn't understand that, because my feeling is the opposite. This scene in particular, I thought looked great. I also really enjoyed how the fire starts in the bar, where it go like, it's so cool to see like how it was edited together, because I watched that like a few times. Like I watched the whole movie in one sitting, and then went back and kind of looked at some of the scenes, and I thought like that scene was super effective, because it's like it started off as a spark in the outlet, and then that caught like the cable, or the power cable on fire, and then you see that go up to like the what are those called, the beams, the port beams, and then it goes across and it starts setting flags on fire.
Yeah.
And it's like this, like it's slow to start burning everything, but then it like fire, it keeps spreading, and then it's fat, it becomes faster and faster, and then the whole damn place is up in flames. But one thing that I really enjoyed is they kept cutting back to Needy's glasses, and you can just see all these like flames in the reflection. Like the flames are getting worse, and you can see like shadows of people running by her face and stuff like that. That was like super effective, because they could have just had like a spark in the background and, hey, because of alcohol, this place exploded. So.
Yeah, so marginally better than the theater burning in Final Girls is what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't want to relive that. That was so exhausting and frustrating just thinking about that.
Wow.
So stupid.
Now
I'm
who's
sorry.
being savage?
Sorry.
I
like.
I mean, the fire photography always looks really cool, especially when you have that playing against like cool colors. And there's usually two kinds of moonlight in movies. There's white moonlight and there's blue moonlight, and I'm a fan of the blue moonlight. It's not realistic, but it's just kind of become, an accepted part of the fiction, like color grading things. And I like the woods and the smoke and the atmosphere in it. I actually like the way that the movie was photographed quite a bit.
Same. I like saturated colors like in general, and this definitely has that. I think for me, how a movie looks goes a really long way for my enjoyment. Maybe it's not so much for other people, but with like going back to the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I think part of the reason that I like that movie so much is because of how it looks, and this is kind of in that same vein. With how, I'm not saying that the colors are the complete reason why I think this movie is much better than Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but even though I like them both, I just wanted to throw that out there, but it's just that
I agree
it's
with
really
you there.
it's really appealing to me when you see these saturated colors the way that they are. It's like just eye candy. It's like I'm mesmerized by it. And it's the same type of thing with like Pacific Rim. Oh my God. I love how that movie looks,
Yeah, I mean, the thing that they have in common is it's kind of the, what's considered the blockbuster look.
Yeah.
Where you're kind of pushing the skin tones into orange and by
Mm-hmm.
using cool colors to support it, it just makes the skin tones pop naturally because they're complementary colors.
Yes. Now I want to watch Pacific Rim again because I brought it up. Sorry. It's such a fantastic movie. Have you ever seen it?
No.
What?
Yeah, I know. Here comes the, oh my God, you have to watch this. It's on the list. I'll watch it eventually. How low you suck in the chair.
Wow. I mean, that just seems
We'll
right up
get
your
there.
alley,
Yeah,
Brian.
I'm sure it is. We'll get there
Well,
eventually.
you know what? Or 2 more weeks and we're going to be seeing it, because that's great. Unbelievable.
I'm the worst. I'm the actual worst, but you knew that.
Well, I'm just here's why it's surprising, Brian. Is like that's the type of movie that seems like it has everything that you would want in a movie. Like crazy action, cool sequences, fucking monsters fighting giant robots. Like all these things are like check, check, check. Have you seen it? Nope.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's fucking cool. Pacific Rim is awesome. It kind of was what got me into like other kaiju movies like Godzilla and stuff, and like kind of like I'm like, maybe I should check those out.
Yeah, I think Del Toro would be very happy to hear that because I feel like that's what he kind of made those movies for, as a love letter to that genre.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Anyways, back to Jennifer's Body. I guess we could talk about other movies.
Yeah, let's not.
We have talked about Jennifer's Body pretty consistently and robustly through this. There's been other episodes where we've titled it one movie, and I think we've only talked about it for like 10 minutes. Graveyard Shift.
I don't know. Final thoughts?
I like this movie, and it's really grown on me. Each time I watch it, it's not that this is a complex movie, but I understand its place, like what it was trying to do, what it wanted to do, what it achieved at doing. And on top of that, it's also a damn shame that it had so much backlash. I think it should have been marketed better, and that would have stopped the resentment or backlash that people were feeling because this movie was released. And I think it should have been given its proper due. I think people should have been given the right trailer and the right marketing, and then let viewers decide if they wanted to see it, because it was not marketed for what it was. It was marketed towards something it wasn't, and that's where a lot of this shit came from.
Mm-hmm.
And it's awful hearing the screenwriter and Megan Fox talk about like their experiences through this.
Yeah.
They, in the interview, and I'll put it in the show notes, and it's worth a listen. It's only about a half hour long, but it kind of puts in perspective like what some of these people go through when they actually really did do something unique and good, and then to have like a backlash for it for no reason.
Well,
for no reason.
I think that's what psychologists refer to as a parasocial relationship, where the audience kind of forms this idea of what that person is or represents. And it's a fascinating thing when that turns around, and a very unfortunate thing, because it's like you don't know what they're trying to do, and yet people still turn against it anyway because they've built up this damning case in their mind.
Yes.
And I think the bad public perception is really unfair, and and it doesn't even really make sense to me why people get that upset about it. It's this like, you made Juno, so now you want to make a horror movie. How dare you? Like,
right.
That's just really strange to me, but I think that's that kind of like creator audience relationship that just gets out and does weird things, and
right.
Unfortunately there's you know, examples like this where it's not that it reflects poorly on the people who did it so much as they really internalize all of this vitriol that
Yes.
the thing really doesn't deserve. And honestly, I feel like even if it was as bad as everyone made it out to be at the time, it doesn't deserve that kind of reaction, because at the end of the day, what is this to you besides a movie you don't want to watch? Who cares?
Right. Right.
So yeah, I don't know. It's I feel bad for them as well. Uh, Megan Fox has actually come a long way as an actor, though, because I feel like, even though I just got done kind of railing against that mentality, I mean, I think I said earlier, I was kind of very much in the mindset of, like, I want to see a Megan Fox movie. And like, even with like,
I'm with you. I'm
even
in the
like
same boat.
with
Yeah.
like Ninja Turtles, it was just kind of like, oh, well, she's in it. I don't know. But,
Right.
I've seen her in other stuff. Like, she was in the sitcom. It had a pretty substantial role in the sitcom called New Girl, which I liked. A lot of people liked that. It was pretty successful. I think it ran on Fox for like 6 years. But, enough time had passed where I could watch that and be objective about it, because it wasn't just like, oh, it's, she's hot and has quote unquote nothing else to offer, which isn't true and unfair to boil anyone down to in those terms. But enough time had passed where like the bad optics of, or the bad public perception of this
Around
movie.
her. Right.
Well, yeah, and a lot of it was for this movie as well, because it's like the people that didn't like Transformers were like, see, this proves it.
Right.
And
she deserves it. Yeah. I don't think
yeah.
anyone deserves like what was levied at her for in this time frame. I'm not saying it's because of this movie, but it just seemed like everything was kind of unfairly aimed at her for whatever reason,
Well, I mean, I think part of that too is the overnight success story kind of
Yeah.
turning against you. But I like I said, I saw this for the first time last year. I enjoyed it. I showed some friends this
They
movie.
enjoyed it.
They both enjoyed it. I don't think it's a forgotten classic. I think certain things age well and certain things don't. I think, a lot of people now that like Me Too has kind of opened people's eyes to, like, hey, maybe it's not cool to just be a horn dog.
Right.
For no reason other than the sake of being a horn dog, or whatever the mentality is. I think people can look at it and kind of see it in a little bit of a second light that they might not have 10 years ago. But you can also watch it, and I mean, I don't feel like it's really like screaming its message at you either. A lot of that stuff is there. It's subtext. And
exactly. And you don't have to brace yourself for these ideas. They're just kind of in the background, and you kind of have to connect the dots. It's like you said, it's not in your face.
Yeah.
But that's why I wanted to talk about it. I think it deserves a look from people, who haven't seen it or maybe are remember it and might be interested in seeing it. I think it doesn't deserve it the attitude that it got. And I'm not saying that this is like some masterpiece, but it's a pretty damn good movie, and it fits in with a bunch of other movies we've talked about on this show. So
yeah, I agree.
Well, tune in next time when we talk about probably Pacific Rim or something or whatever. I don't know. You do need to watch that show, anyways.
Yeah.
Show.
We'll get
movie.
there. We'll get there.
All right.
In my own time.
Yeah. Well, it's only been like a decade since that one came out as well. So. All right.
I got nothing, man.
Let's
see you next week for a mystery movie that's definitely not Pacific Rim.
It's the sequel. We're going to talk about that one.
Hey, how about Atlantic Rim? How about that?
there are those. If we want to go into the Rim universe, there are them.
I know.
There are out there. All right.
We've talked about those before. Just as a final thought about that, there is this subgenre of movies that I don't want to have anything to do with, referred to as mockbusters, where somebody comes out with a really popular movie, and then all of these fly-by-night production houses make their knockoff dollar store version of it to get it out before the other one can come out on home video to prey on brand confusion.
Right.
Every one of those I've seen is
Transmorphers.
Genuinely awful. Yeah, Alien vs. Hunter. The list goes on. Don't watch any of them.
Lake Michigan Rim. Yeah, that's not one. That's not one. I'm just saying, like, that's how they name it. Anyways,
it'll be like Pacific Rim in space or something. You know.